Dan from Ezoic is awesome. Here he is showing how ad marketplaces work and techniques you can do to massively increase the money you make from the ads on your site. On this video, you will learn the valuable information he teaches to a voluntary meetup of Project 24 members.
I go by a few nicknames, and one of those was given to me by one of your students, Danijel. The people in Ezoic call me Dan the Machine because I work on a lot of websites, and my girlfriend calls me Dan, you didn't do the dishes again. Back before I moved to UK 3 years ago, I worked at a university. I was the head of the career development center, and I was teaching students how to find jobs, and now I'm teaching websites how to think. When speaking with Ian about what to deliver to you guys and how to get some additional value into what is probably ahead of all of you, I thought of holding a session about what's happening in the Google part of the world and what's happening on the programmatic side of things. Again, before I go deeper into that, who here is using any sort of programmatic or Google AdSense, Google Ad Exchange type of monetization, by show of hands? 5, okay. And the rest, I assume, are not monetizing yet, or are using affiliates, or not yet? Okay. So a lot of things is happening in the Google world, and basically Google is all around us, and we do, whether we like to admit it or not, we do live in a Google world. And this part of the world is way ahead of where the other parts, like my home part, like Southeast Europe, is now, in terms of moving towards the programmatic, moving towards the monetization via ad exchanges or via plugging your site into something such as Google AdSense. That further down the line will slowly diminish the value of affiliate marketing and direct deals. Sooner or later, everybody who wants to bid for your users or your content, your websites, will need to go through some sort of the ad exchange or ad servers. In a quick overview of how Google was doing it up until recently, so they are running a few different types of auctions. So they first ran a first price auction, then switched to a second price auction, then to a second look, and now they are going towards the unified auction environment. In simple terms, what this means for the advertisers is the first price auction was allowing simply the first price that was the highest to get the privilege to bid for your users. So if you have a publisher who's willing to pay $3 CPM for a certain user, he or she obviously they outbid the runner-up. So that was allowing the highest bid to win, but was also leaving a lot of money on the table for both Google and the publishers because the prices were then slightly lowered. Google, of course, Google likes money. We all like money too. And then they decided to switch to a second price auction. Second price auction was had a catch. So even though you are the highest bidder for a certain ad unit, you would pay just 1 cent above of the second best price, which allowed a more fair marketplace of the ad inventory. However, there was a slight problem when you had two big ad exchanges competing against each other, which also left some advertisers, for example, in Google's ad exchange, to be willing to pay more money, but end up losing the bid because of the second price auction nature. So what would happen in Google ad exchange side of the story? You have an advertiser who's willing to pay $5 for a certain ad unit. They have to pay $2.51 because they go by the rules of the second price auction. However, in another ad exchange server, what happens is you have an advertiser who's willing to pay $3, and that is the winning bid. which then actually leaves $2 per ad unit on the table left untapped. To compensate for that, Google then moved to the last look option, which kind of gave them a bit strategical advantage over the other ad exchanges, which allowed them. So you have the final price from ad exchange 1, 2, and 3, and then from Google's ad exchange, all of those 3 exchanges compete between themselves. Winning bid is $3, and then Google sniffs this out and just adds 1 cent. They win the bid.
It's cheeky.
Yeah, it's cheeky. Of course, publishers and other ad exchanges were not happy about this because they were basically running a race with their legs tied. So in September this year, just one more thing. To compensate for that, the ad ecosystem has started to evolve and enter header bidding. Header bidding is a pre-bid type of an auction that runs on a website's header, basically. And what is happening, it is listening to all the ad exchanges and actually, hey, who wants to pay the most money? You want to pay more money? Pay me. But again, that was that needed to be set up specifically on a website, and you would need to have a partner who would be able to set this up for you. So it made 3 to 7% difference in the revenue, but it also left a lot of money on the table for people. So what has happened as a result of the ad exchanges complaining and publishers wanting more fairly earned money is the unified first price auction. Is how Google now pays all their publishers and their advertisers. So what is happening, all of the exchanges submit their bids at the same time, and the best bid wins. What this is opening for the publisher is, especially for the people in the income school community, is if you have high quality content, you are much more likely to win those bids because your ad inventory will be much more valuable. I'm going to talk about what ad inventory actually is in a few slides later on. So the some publishers and some big brands they try to find that additional value by adding more demand sources, and they are trying to just go by the law of numbers. So if I have more ad demand, I'm going to get better prices, which is not necessarily always accurate, and is actually accurate. It's actually not true. So if you take a look at all the ad exchanges and all the ad providers in the world, they all pretty much use the same ad demand. It is just how they classify the value of your ad inventory of your site. So you could, as a publisher, if you're going towards completely monetizing your site via programmatic, you could fine-tune your AdSense or Google Ad Exchange account to experiment with various ad sizes, ad position, ad locations, and that could help you stay on top of the unified first price auction change. However, that is not always easy and simple, but again, you guys are absolutely crushing it with the way how you build your sites, with the way how you get your users to engage with your sites, and that is what will be driving the most value for you in terms of both optimizations in revenue and growing your site. Because you can have, yeah?
So how do you measure the quality of the ad inventory?
Sorry, how do
you measure the quality? Is it how long the users stay on the site?
The quality of ad inventory is how much money you can potentially get from the advertisers for the ad layouts that you currently have on your site.
Is it depending on how long users stay on the site?
Depending on engagement, exactly. So if you have a user who just visits your site, spends there 25 seconds, boom, they go away without actually engaging with the site and the content, it is far less likely that they will also engage with the ad units themselves. And therefore, this will send signals to the ad exchanges like, oh, maybe this site is not so good, so maybe we should focus our efforts into sites which have better engaging users. And yes, Simon, you're completely correct. It's all about the user side of the story, how they engage with the content. I had a side chat with Andy as well about how he approaching his content writing, and he said and that I completely agree with this. I want to create an engaging content, which will help my users choose the right product, choose the right topic, to make the right decision by helping them with the tips, tricks, and advice that I write. So it's not only about getting, yes, I'm going to get all my users to the site, but by any means necessary. It's about getting the right user intent, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? Mm-hmm. Do you have any more questions on this topic before I move forward? I'm going to leave 10 minutes for Q&A at the end of the session. So yeah, like Simon said, what advertisers want, what they price is the attention of your users, because they are basically running a supply and demand. They want to ensure that the advertisers that are paying for the ad units, that the users are actually viewing them, that they are engaging with them, that they are clicking on the ads, they are seeing the ads actually. And you have this mini digital ecosystem between a publisher, a user, and an advertiser, where having a quality ad inventory will keep your users happy. They will not be seeing too many ads or seeing irrelevant ads or be bouncing off from your website. You will have happy advertisers who will be willing to pay to bid more on your users, especially now since we are all in the unified first price auction, and of course going to lead to having happy publishers, meaning more money. So often when publishers try to improve the monetization aspects of their websites, the go-to solution is what? Add more ads. Let's add 25 ads and get more money, because if I have more ads, therefore I will have more value from that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, not always, and not for all the users. Having multiple ads on the website. So this is one thing that I would like to give to you as a takeaway of this session, is try to figure out how your users access your website, how they engage with the website, and which parts of the website they are actually seeing. So in this example, a publisher had a bottom of the page ad unit added, which was a sticky anchor ad unit. And their intent was, okay, yeah, so if I make all my users see that ad unit all the time at all sessions, I will make more money. It wasn't true. It didn't happen that way, because most of their users only visited the first 35 to 50% of the page views. Nobody was actually viewing the bottom of the page ad unit. And what happened to the advertisers who were bidding for that ad unit? They realized that they were missing out, that they are paying more money and nobody's actually seeing those ad units. So that ad unit, the value of this ad unit was directly correlated with the value of other ad units on the site, which is the ad inventory. So having bottom of the page ad unit here for all users has actually decreased the total value of their website. This publisher has has removed some of the ad units, and which has actually increased the value of these two ad units, because what happened is this publisher here, they still wanted to get the views of this website's users, but because they were now forced to pay more money, having only two ad units available in this ad inventory, it made them pay more because of how auctions work. Bum, 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 bum. So this is like a positive way of manipulating the prices in the ad exchange, where you can get more value by showing actually fewer ad units for some users.
That's what you are doing in the testing phase, right? In Ezoic.
Yeah, I have a slide also that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sorry.
So it does look like, yeah, man, this is Ezoic. It's like this is a case study where actually the publisher was trying to experiment and like take away and rip out some part of their website, trying to make more money. Example 2 was, yeah, like I said, like removing some ad locations for some users. So overall, they were expecting to make more money. Did they? They did not. Again, because they were doing that on a basis, all my users are the same, or they all act the same way with the website, so I'm gonna remove the bundle page ad unit for all my users. So what that did is it did increase the value of the top 2 ad units, but for the users who were accessing their website via Google search and going directly to the Meet page or below, they were missing out here. So does removing allocations for all users make more money? It does for some users, but not for the website as a whole. However, it is worth experimenting. So if you're currently using AdSense Exchange or planning to do that, try experimenting by removing or adding some of the ad units for some users based on some data that I'm going to show you later on. And like the takeaway of this second example is try to get your users to simply engage more with the website, with the content, and to get them to stay longer on your website, to get them to have more page views, to get them to basically have a better user experience. So two questions, again, just like by the show of hands. So first, even though they are marked as one, I know. First, by the show of hands, like who here agrees that adding more ads is bad for the value of your ad inventory?
So the ad inventory, is that the ads or is that the content?
Ad inventory is the dispersion of ads that you have on your site. It's the ad sizes, types, locations, basically ad possibilities. Yeah.
Okay.
So would you say that adding more ads is bad?
Depends.
Yes.
I think it depends on how saturated it is already.
And is removing ads always better for improving the quality of ad inventory?
Depends.
I mean, it's an unfair. These are 2 unfair questions because they are the trick questions. Yeah, so it can be either way. So it also again depends on a user. So there is 20 of us here in this room, and for some of us, depending on our user behavior, option number 1 will make sense, and option number 1 or the other option would make more sense. So now I just want to show you a quick example of a website that was indeed on Ezoic, but again, it's not about what Ezoic does, it's about the data that it works with and data that we were able to get. So this website was on the platform for 6 months, and in the back end, the system was adapting based to all the different user triggers and user behaviors. What happened as an end result? The revenue did increase, and the session duration did increase because the users were more engaged with the website, and it was again done on a session basis. And this is the metric that we use. It is earnings per mile of visits, basically earnings per 1,000 visits or sessions. So what this publisher was able to do is to increase the average value of their user sessions by adapting each of the page views and the ad inventory of those page views based on each user signal, each user profile, and each user behavior. And what was mind-boggling for me was that each of the real users, like human beings, can have multiple user behavior profiles, that you engage differently with a website when you are here now, maybe bored like Andy is, joking Andy, or when you are traveling back from work on your train commute and logging in from your mobile device. or when you are on a Sunday afternoon just chilling at home and researching how to downsize your home, and you really want to explore that content, and you have a different user intent. So even though that could have been just the same person, it is different user behavior profiles that really make a difference in terms of the session revenue, and again, surprisingly as well for the user metrics. So we looked into the reasons. Okay, so why did the revenue increase? Was it maybe because of the seasonalities? Because ad rates tend to change depending on which part of the year it is. Currently, we are now in November, which is like the prime time to use programmatic. In the next few weeks, all the advertisers globally will spend 40% of their yearly budget in the next few weeks. Black Friday, Christmas, New Year's Eve, like seriously, serious money. So yeah, what we took a look at. So this was the time period when that publisher was optimizing their website, and the overall ad rates in the global industry were actually decreasing. So it was not the seasonality effect. What we thought would maybe it was the ad demand partners that were plugged into the system. However, again, so this site had header bidding partners, they had other exchanges, and they had a Google exchange. So we see that also the overall impressions from all these advertisers did not go up by so much. So it was just like 1.85% an increase. However, the revenue still improved by 27%. And the overall RPM of their pages also went up by 25%. So this allowed us to describe also the aspect of was it a part of the adding additional ad partners, a part of the optimizations. It goes back to the content. It goes back to the quality ad inventory. And it is a simple format. It is basically A plus B. So the quality, the ad inventory is ad size, ad location, and how many ads you allow your users to potentially see on your website. The second part of the equation is things where you can use the data that you have, data from your Google Analytics, the data from if you're using WordPress plugins, if you're using Monster Insights, if you're using any other mechanisms to figure out what your users, how they engage with the website. Do they have a specific time of the day, time of the day and day of the week that they engage differently with your website? If your website is about traveling, is it seasonality issue or part or that you can take more advantage of? Is it that your users are highly engaging with CatCon Global in summer and they're looking for their traveling options? Is it that your users, again, like Morten's example, are homeowners who want to improve how they live, and they research your website more via their desktop devices? That will also give you some hints into how to adapt your own ad inventory, place the ads as a potential locations in some other highly more viewable locations. Is it geographical location? We often have websites who get millions of views, but they write on Danish language or Indian, and the bids that the advertisers are willing to pay are slightly different than, unfortunately, for the users from the US marketplace and the Western world. So that's again like the things that you can take into consideration when writing your content. Will I write for the audience that is considered more valuable in terms of what advertisers are willing to pay, or do I want to create in-product placements for a specific niche of users that are from a specific geolocation? And again, like the traffic source, is your audience more coming to your website more from the Facebook sources? For Pinterest, Instagram is becoming really popular and a really great monetization source, or are you driving more of the users to YouTube? So they were having a great deal of users who were typing their website URL directly, and those users had a really good intent, so they scrolled up to 90% of their pages. So that would to answer your question would be like, yeah, okay, for those users, they should have ad unit done as a potential location throughout their content. However, there are other traffic sources. So for Facebook and those type of users, we're only seeing 50% of the page views. So having ads below the 50% of that page is actually decreasing the value of ad inventory for Facebook users. So that could be also one good point. So see how many users you have going from search, Facebook, or direct, and see how they engage. You can also filter that in I think GA as well, Google Analytics. So yeah, in this example, just quickly, 50% of the scrollage, this ad was killing the revenue. Even though it was there, it was showing, but it was killing it. And for the 90% of the users, those were the money makers. Again, interesting phenomena overall across all the website. The above the fold ad units actually decreased in their viewability. So they were being shown on average fewer times to all the users. However, revenue went up by 27% and RPM went up by 25%. But the most viewable ad units were not being shown as often because the scroll percentage of the users that were accessing the site directly and their user intent, their user behavior. Pretty wild. This is where the revenue actually came from. So the system, the site was showing getting more revenue from the sidebars, a significant chunk, and more revenue from an in-content ad unit. So these are just like some versions of the experiments. You can start with this and see what happens. I would not recommend it, but yeah, adjusting based on your traffic is the deal maker. And again, believe it or not, and this is why Income School kicks so much ass, is the content length. Like the good content. You will get a lot of keywords there and you'll get users. Further down the line, what you can allow yourself is to optimize your copywriting resources and start investing maybe in shorter articles when you see that your shorter articles are maybe getting more returning visitors compared to the new visitors. And in returning visitors is where the real value lies, because those users are your fans, your super fans. They are engaged users.
I'll just ask a question. Would you, apart from the great content, would you introduce like a funnel type thing where the funnel actually is driving the traffic?
Subscriptions or newsletters or?
Yeah, sort of like, I don't understand it, so forgive me, I don't quite, but I just know with some of the funnels, the way you're structuring your site is that it kind of links it, or you kind of drive the traffic, you create it in such a way so that actually people stay for longer or visit, different pages,
yes,
etc. So when you are putting together your site, as well as quality content, is it about the structure of how you...
It's user experience, yes, and it is also one thing where Income School is really amazing, is helping you create good user experience and path. So yeah, it is definitely a must that you interlink your pages. So your user that accesses only one page, they know, okay, so this is the Sidebar option to see all their posts, see most popular posts, click on the next page, interlink it. So yeah, your site should be like completely interlinked, but I guess there are more qualified people here to share a few points on that, if you don't mind, after the session. This is just another screenshot. So these were the number of ads that were being shown on average for a user. So there were more user screens where they were seeing only 4, 2, and 7 ad units per page view, and the number of users that were seeing 3, and that was 9 diminished. So it's not always about showing as many ad units as possible. And I promise you, this is the last slide. Just like a few takeaways. So yeah, create a funnel to answer your question, definitely. Interlink your website. Consider what your ad inventory is or will be. Think about the type of users that you attract. Think about their engagement. What are they? How are they spending their time on your site? Are they scrolling all the way down? Are they focusing their attention only on the first 25-50% of your articles? If they are, maybe you should write 27,000 words per article. Just joking. But yeah, try to data. It's basically data. Get as much data as possible, because the assumption is the key of all mistakes. So never assume. Always look into the data. Look into GA, look into AdSense, look in Big Data Analytics or any other source that you can have, and try to figure out what are the best decisions for your website. And if you have any time for questions, this is my final slide, and this is my lovely dog.
What's the name of your dog?
It is Pepper.
I wanted to ask that when you showed the picture of him in the first shot.
Yeah. So yeah, I really thank you for your attention. And if we have any times for question, Ian, 5 minutes. Yeah, floor is yours. Play rock paper scissors. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my understanding of Ezoic is that over time it will optimize the placements on the site. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it adapts based to the user intent, based on the user profile, behavior profile. So again, like maybe we can have a chat about it later, so it doesn't look like I'm selling stuff. This is not sales pitch, but my answer would be yes. You use the data to adapt. It uses the data to adapt according to user profiles.
Thanks.
Sorry.
We had a question from Andy first. Yeah.
So in one of your slides you mentioned traffic sources, Instagram and things like that. How would you use that information to determine how you place your adverts and things like that? Like let's say, for example, we get a lot of traffic in from Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
How would you utilize that?
Which geo, how long do they stay on the page, how long do they scroll, and how many pages they make. So if you have a user that is coming from US seeing only 35% of your articles, I would probably place more ad units on the top of the page for Instagram traffic.
Right.
You can also, if you go really deep into your site setup, you can program your ad demand to show based on the traffic input.
Oh.
So you can say, okay, I want to show this type of layouts to Instagram users based on their traffic source.
And is that something that we do on the back end of the website, or is it?
It can be done, like correct me if I'm wrong, who's using AdSense, it can be done also by combining AdSense and Google Analytics to set up goals in your GA suite, and then like, yeah, okay, if you're showing this type of user, my goal is to increase X, Y.
Is it like a code or something? How does it work? So how to get the ads onto the website? So do we apply for your, let's say if we're going to be, and we approve our website as a partner? And then do we install an app or something on the website, or a plugin, or how does it work?
It depends which type of the connection you
Like
want to establish. Yeah, so you can connect via plugin or connect via server-to-server side. So the recommendation is to do server-to-server connection via name service, because then all of that happens in the back end. The system is just like much more powerful. But yeah, you can also use a WordPress
so it's
plugin.
automatic where the ad plays, and you can move them around yourself, or?
You can set up. You can decide. Okay, I want to test these 7 locations, and then these are the variables that you have defined, and each of these locations have different ad sizes in them and ad types. So the system is like, okay, so how to increase the overall quality of ad inventory? Let's test, because the premise is nobody knows, the system doesn't know until it learns. But it's also using the aggregated data from other sites and other users. So it's like I call it Skynet, like Terminator, but the benevolent one.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get accepted into Ezoic, and all of those things you teach us in these slides, it's basically something that we shouldn't even worry about, because Ezoic like handles all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to make this sales pitch.
Yeah, I know, but it's because you are a nice guy. But actually, like if you get accepted into Ezoic does all of this automatically. So we should actually, if we like focus on creating the valuable content, the ad inventory, the content, the great content, and looking to create content that is worth something, not just clickbaity kids content, then this is how we will optimize how much we will earn.
Yeah. Content is key. Content is king. Like
Yes.
with good content, like look at what Morten did with his websites. Like
So again, then isn't that correct that when I have a visitor from Facebook, over time it will learn that we need to place more ads at the top?
yeah, it basically
It
adapts.
will do that by itself, right? I don't need to run that experiment.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it also every human being has thousands of different user behavior profiles. So it also adapts over time based on data from that user.
Yeah.
But it's not only so. It also like AdSense can do that with auto ads. Medianvine does it, and AdThrive does it. So it's not only so. It's what all these partnerships are doing for us. If you take AdSense and place the ads manually on your site, you'll, in my experience, maybe earn like 30% less than if you just make it automatically place the ads. But you have to have some traffic, because if you have like less than 1,000 visitors, AdSense doesn't know what to
No,
do.
of course, because and the ads are there just chosen by your company. Was it how it's just
It's all the same.
If I've got a smartphone blog and then there's a horse, buy my horse, and these adverts.
My girlfriend is a
You know what I
horse.
mean? It's
My
just
girlfriend is
like
a horse
relevance.
veterinarian. So for
Yeah.
her, great ad targeting.
Yeah,
So
but
Google
obviously
is
the relevance to it.
Google is targeting based on your user
Yeah, that's what I mean.
search
Yeah,
history,
it's-
basically, and your parameters. So yeah,
So
so
you could actually end up with that scenario.
Yeah, but the
Because
horse
if you've been, if you're
thing, if I'm doing
if you've been loads of horse riding stuff, and then
yeah,
you
but
go
if
to
I
a
wasn't, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
relevance, right?
it is, and it is. So everybody, literally everybody, AdSense, Mediavine, AdThrive, Ezoic, everybody's using the same ad demand. It's just how the data algorithms work in the back end. AdSense has done some really cool thing recently. So they have, so basically AdSense is auto ads. So if you have a AdSense code on your site, it is auto ads. So AdSense is doing something similar, but
It's also like cookie tracking, where if I've been on other websites and then
Yeah,
the
it's-
same website banner from another one to another.
Yeah, it's retargeting. It's always try to do the retargeting first because they bid
Yeah.
really high.
yeah, it's a really weird
Just trying to
word.
understand the techniques. Like,
I can explain it. I set up multiple of those techniques.
Yeah.
Very quick
Ian
question.
allows.
Does Google Analytics provide you with all or most of the data you need?
For startup, yes, I would say definitely use Google Analytics.
Or do we need to add something later? I think most of us are using WordPress. Like, would you
Yeah.
start adding? Is there anything special we need to do to
No.
get the data, or is that?
No, so you can have GA Google Analytics without any visits at all. Like, so just set up your free account, add the code to your header, and that's
the
it.
data that produces is pretty good for.
Definitely, I would always recommend using GA over WordPress. Always,
It's the industry standard.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
I think most people have Google Analytics, but I'm wondering about the data that it provides. That's enough to.
Yeah, and
We'll
even
start.
if you sign up for Ezoic or AdThrive or anybody, they will always ask for permission to see you at
So
Google Analytics.
they always
Based on
want to do
those data, right?
Yeah,
Combined with the old machine stuff
Okay.
you do, it'll make it work.
All right.
Mm.
The definition they just fills out your own IP address, so the traffic you see is not your own.
Okay.
yeah. So thank you for highly engaging conversation, and I'll be here until the happy hour as well, so we can have a few conversations as well.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks very
Thanks.
much.